Welcome back, focused learners. Today on The Explainer, we're diving deep into the strategic mechanics of a highly specific, totally high-stakes topic. We are literally cracking open the examiner's playbook for the Cambridge Information Technology 9626 syllabus, and we're specifically targeting Section 6.1. That's the digital divide, its definition, and its causes. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, why on earth are we zooming in on this exact section? Well, here's the secret. Mastering Section 6.1 accounts for roughly 15% of your total marks in Paper 2. Think about that for a second. That is a massive chunk of your grade, and it relies entirely on how well you understand not just the topic itself, but exactly how the examiners want you to write about it.
Okay, let's just jump right into this with a pretty dramatic insight straight from the principal examiner reports. They state, and I quote, "Candidates consistently confuse key terminology." Guys, this isn't just a minor critique. This is exactly where students are hemorrhaging points. You can have a fantastic, sweeping understanding of the broader societal issues surrounding the digital divide, but if you're losing points on basic terminology right out of the gate, your entire analytical structure starts on incredibly shaky ground. The stakes are huge here, and it all begins with how you handle your core terms.
So, to secure those maximum method marks, we need a clear game plan. We've broken today's explainer down into 5 crucial stages. First, we'll go inside the digital divide. Second, we'll look at the theoretical architecture. Third, we'll map out the procedural framework. Fourth, we'll cover top examiner warnings. And finally, number 5, evaluative thinking for those top scores.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Inside the Digital Divide, laying down the foundational rules. Here is the absolute golden rule. You have got to define your core terms. The principal examiner reports make this crystal clear. You must explicitly define what the digital divide actually is before you even think about diving into complex analysis. What happens is, too many candidates get overly excited. They skip the basics and jump straight into discussing network infrastructure or socioeconomic factors without anchoring the response first. Look, it's basically like trying to build a roof before you've even poured the foundation. Laying down this definition is the key. It's the mechanism that literally unlocks the door for the examiner to award you the subsequent application and analysis marks.
And I really want to remind you why we are being so incredibly meticulous about this. 15%. That is the approximate weight this single topic carries in Paper 2. Because it carries so much weight, superficial one-sentence answers simply are not going to cut it. Examiners are specifically hunting for multi-stage analysis here. You can't just drop a textbook definition and walk away. You have to use that definition as the launchpad for a really deep, systematic exploration of the causes.
Moving on to Section 2, Theoretical Architecture, and exactly what the syllabus expects from you.
The theoretical architecture of this topic rests firmly on 3 pillars: precise definitions, mapping out causal relationships, and cross-topic integration. Now, I want you to notice that third pillar. While most candidates generally understand the need for basic definitions and listing a few causes, examiners emphasize that candidates who reference cross-topic connections, meaning they link the digital divide to other areas of the IT syllabus, they achieve significantly higher marks. Doing this proves to the examiner that you understand the IT landscape as one interconnected ecosystem, not just isolated, disconnected chapters in a book.
And this perfectly illustrates the core philosophy of the whole Cambridge assessment framework. Analytical depth is strictly prioritized over superficial breadth. The assessment targets distinct cognitive domains, specifically knowledge, application, and analysis. Look, they do not want you to just list 20 shallow facts about the digital divide. That's a trap. The academic benchmark here requires logical, highly structured reasoning. They want you to take 3 or 4 key factors and analyze them deeply, showing the examiner exactly how and why they contribute to the divide.
All right, on to Section 3, the procedural framework. This is your method mark strategy. This is what we call the method mark strategy. In the Cambridge system, marks are specifically awarded for demonstrating a systematic problem-solving process. When you're tackling an exam question on the digital divide, you've got to follow a standardized 5-stage sequence. Step 1. Identify the key elements by deconstructing the question prompt. Step 2, apply the relevant IT principles and choose your analytical framework. Step 3, execute the analysis with clear, logical working. Step 4, verify your results. And finally, Step 5, present your answer in the correct format using the right terminology. If you skip any of these steps, you are literally leaving valuable method marks on the table.
Let's zoom in on that execute analysis phase for a second, because for Section 6.1, it relies heavily on data interpretation. You're frequently going to be presented with complex texts or data tables. Your job is to systematically extract the relevant data, interpret the relationships, like, for example, correlating broadband access speeds with regional income levels, and then draw solid, evidence-based conclusions. You are essentially acting as a data detective, and your written answer, well, that's your final report proving your case.
Which brings us to Section 4, Top Examiner Warnings, the exact pitfalls you need to avoid.
I want you to pay close attention right now because these are the top 3 mistakes pulled directly from past examiner reports that consistently cost students marks. And let's be real, there is nothing more painful than losing easy marks. Mistake number 1, answers on the digital divide are often entirely too vague. Examiners are practically begging for specific, concrete details. Number 2, students completely forget to double-check their format and presentation, meaning they miss out on easy practical application marks. And number 3, which is perhaps the most fatal error, answers are not specific to the context given in the question prompt.
To really drive this point home, contrast these two approaches. A weak candidate provides vague details. They write an answer that can honestly apply to any generic digital divide question ever written. A top-tier candidate, however, provides a specific and highly contextualized application. Let's say the exam gives you a scenario about a rural school district struggling with e-learning. Your analysis of the digital divide must directly reference that rural school district, the specific technologies mentioned in the prompt, and the unique challenges of that exact environment. Context is absolutely everything.
Finally, Section 5, Evaluative Thinking. This is how you secure those top scores.
When the exam paper asks you for an evaluation of evidence quality regarding the causes of the digital divide, they're asking for a very specific, high-level set of skills. This evaluation requires you to actively identify the limitations of the data you've been given. It requires you to note any assumptions that have been made in the text. You need to explore alternative interpretations of that same data, and then clearly assess how all of these factors actually impact your final conclusions. It's a rigorous, multi-layered, critical analysis.
So we can clearly see the massive difference in cognitive demand here. Superficial knowledge retrieval, just writing down absolutely everything you memorized about the digital divide, well, that will only get you so far. Top-scoring candidates demonstrate true evaluative thinking. They actively question the assumptions presented in the exam scenario. They consider different perspectives, maybe weighing the economic view against the infrastructural view. And most importantly, they justify every single decision and claim they make with hard evidence derived directly from the provided source materials. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pivotal question to take into your own study sessions. When you sit down to practice past papers on 6.1, the digital divide, honestly ask yourself, are you just listing facts, or are you truly justifying your decisions with evidence, using the systematic framework we outlined today? Mastering that exact shift in thinking is what the examiners are waiting to reward. Keep that theoretical architecture in mind. Never forget to define your terms, and happy studying.